Yes, another episode of Stand Up Memories. Let me keep going. I am Peter Bell.
A lot of times I interrupt Peter because I think it's funny. I'm not doing that today.
All right. And this is Jackie, known as Jackie the Joke Man Martling. And we are with a terrific comedian who is really unique and really funny. And his name is MARC YAFFEE. And we have people listening, and we have people watching the video version of our podcast.
We have more people listening and watching than we thought, right?
Yeah, we do. We have a bigger audience than we thought on all our platforms, and we're quite proud of this.
Of course, we've always said that there's people listening and watching, but they weren't. It's nice to meet you. I never met you before.
But now we know this is Jackie Martling, and that's MARC YAFFEE, whom I know through my lovely wife, Peaches Rodriguez, a comedian. And he is doing right now, I'm sorry, I'm getting excited. He is doing right now what many comedians do, and he is on
He's
a cruise.
masturbating?
No.
Sleeping?
He's on a ship. He's on a cruise, and he's making people laugh. MARC
Has
YAFFEE,
anybody ever done this from a ship?
I think you're our first cruise ship comedian guest. You look great, and
I like to break barriers, so I appreciate that.
You like to break barriers, and you know what? That's a great place to start. And can I give you a little more intro from MARC YAFFEE?
You can do whatever you want. This is your show.
This gentleman is so funny, and he does comedy about everything under the sun. But one of the things that he does comedy about is his Native American heritage. And he is, I think, groundbreaking in that area and so funny. Welcome, first of all, welcome to the show. Thank you. Jackie and I are taking up too much time here. Let's talk to you.
No, not Jackie and I are taking up. You're taking up too.
I'm too much.
No, it's an honor to be here. I've heard about Jackie for years, and Peter, I've known you for years, and of course your wife, great friend, and we talk a lot on Facebook, and she keeps me up to date on your backyard leaf situation and your pond and life and comedy, and so it's good to connect. I don't, because I'm a West Coast comic, but I always, when I started, even before comedy, I was such a fan of East Coast, New York especially. It seems like pizza, you get your Chicago pizza, New York pizza. I was always a fan of New York comedy, and it's great to be here and connect. And I'm on a ship, and thanks to the new Tony Stark evil villain Elon Musk, we have Starlink, and it's a good connection. Couldn't have done this a year ago.
Yeah, well, it seems like it's a pretty good connection.
Yeah, pretty good connection. And what's the name of the ship that you're on? Can you say?
I'm on the Holland American New Statendam. Don't ask me to spell it.
And where are you right now?
We're headed from, we were in Bahamas yesterday, heading down to Grand Turks. So a little Western Central Caribbean tour. It's a 7-day. So I got on last week. We did one group of passengers. They offloaded them, and then a new bunch who haven't heard my jokes, so I can just keep doing reruns. It's even better.
All right. Perfect. Now talk to me. You are a Native American comic, and you have such funny material about it. And we go for the laughs on this show, but not always. And
well, you mean because we miss sometimes?
We miss. We try for laughs, we don't get them. But I wanted to ask you about the challenges, the rewards, the good and the bad and the ugly, about being pretty unique in the comedy business, being a Native American comedian.
There's definitely some pros and cons to it. The first stereotype you have to dispel is, a Native comic, he's funny, he must get booked at all these Native casinos. He must be working constantly. I work at some, but we're like, Native casinos are like any other business. 98% of the time, they're looking at the poll star numbers and the ticket sales and who's drawing. And, if they have a choice between Jim Gaffigan and Nate Bargatze or MARC YAFFEE, what Native comedian will not be at that casino that weekend. So,
So it doesn't matter who you are. It's bottom line. And it always has been,
We do know that there are some exceptions. There'll be some casinos that are very supportive, and they'll do, it may be related to Native American Heritage Month, a tribal celebration. So those components, and then maybe I get to work some tribal gatherings and events that a lot of mainstream comics wouldn't get. But you know, and then sometimes they try and give you like these nice budget and take care, and then you're on the right, not the right, but the, you know, the moat in the middle of the casino, the bar above the bartenders, across from the crowd of 12 people, and it's this big budget thing, and there's one sign, and so it's you know, it's varies wildly between a nice sold out showroom to I'm standing at the top of a rise or a karaoke lounge. So
Wow, we've all been there in those shows.
So, you know, I thought I was past those, and like a couple of months ago, I worked at the Parks Casino, and they changed the room around, and now the audience, and there's the audience, and then there's the entire bar, and the stage is up behind the bar, like where you'd put strippers. You know what I mean? And the
that's
Wiz name
exactly
just
what
came
I
up.
yeah.
It's worst possible. You know, it's almost like a joke on the comedians. You know, but you do it. You know.
Well, you don't, you know, and you think, okay, Parks Casino or whatever, XYZ Casino. Oh yeah, they got tons of money. You don't expect, you expect it if it's Joe's Tavern. You don't expect it when it's a multi-million dollar operation. So
Now,
Yeah, but they don't have. That's in my other pocket. The money for the comedians is in this pocket. You know, the billions is in the other pocket. You know, that's, you know, it doesn't
yeah,
change. You know.
in our
yeah, yeah.
lifetime,
We can only give you one meal. We can't. There's no alcohol. We had to cut the budget. Well, you just gave away $500,000 at that last drawing. So I think you got money.
Right.
now, but you have fun. You have fun doing comedy because I've seen it. You have, how many dry bar specials do you have?
I just did my second one in February. It came out in September. So I don't. You get a quarterly report, so I have no idea if anyone has watched it or a couple 100,000.
It
I
is,
think, I don't want to say Dry Bars peaked, but I think, you know, now it's Don't Tell Comedy's the new thing, and that's getting a lot of views online. But I'm grateful for that. It's, you know, it's a little extra check. You know, you get that mail money that you don't expect, and you
well,
appreciate.
it's a chance to really strut your stuff. I mean, and you strut your stuff. The dry bar specials are so funny because I watched them. And you don't
Well,
hesitate
thanks.
to call out stereotypes. You have a lot of fun with the fact that you're a Native American comedian, not born on the reservation, like people
That's right.
automatically assume. You're from LA, correct?
Mexican mother, white father, great father. We called him the Great White Father. Yeah.
He has so much funny stuff about that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, and you love doing the Native American material.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it's not a huge chunk of my, it can, you know, it's probably some nights it might be 10-20%, some nights it's half, you know, and then I'll go to a reservation gig, and sometimes you'll talk about that, and it'll be 60. You never know. That's what I like, because I've been fortunate. I came up in clubs, but then I, you know, got into tribal casinos and tribal events. So I get to work a wide range of stuffs, you know, be on a ship one week, and then a tribal gathering outdoors, and wherever, and the next week, and then in a casino, or a club. So I like the challenge of that. It's just, I don't want
Now,
to
if
be too
you're doing a
static and doing the
tribal
same thing.
gathering, are you the only comic? Are there other Native American comics, or are there, you know?
Generally, they'll do it as they like, you know, they'll do two or three of us. I just did one. I don't know if you guys are from, you probably both know of the late Charlie Hill. Charlie,
Yes.
he was from Wisconsin, but he mostly was a West Coast comic. So I don't know if you crossed paths as much, but we did a comedy producer did a tribute to Charlie, and there was five of the six surviving comics that are still around. We were on this tribute, and he actually emceed. They had him introduce us to the original introductions from the special, and he cut in there, and that was pretty awesome. But sometimes it's just me, and sometimes there's a couple of us. So it's, you know,
Do you
it's
like
like any
Native
comedy gig. You don't
American
know what.
audiences?
Are they good?
Yeah, there's the sharp. You know, I was just, and you don't expect it a lot of times, because it's like it's countrified. Yeah, I was in Lame Deer, Montana, and we're in a bingo hall, and we did a show for a voter registration drive. And there was maybe 40, 50 people. It was a big budget gig. They paid us good money. And there was three native comics and a couple of rappers. And it's like, it's crazy. You just don't know. It's like you think, well, if you're getting paid, you think there's going to be a lot of people. That's not necessarily true. That's one thing that is different than mainstream comedy. You kind of know by the zeros on the check about how many zeros you'll have in the audience.
That's right. That's true. I'm an older guy. I'm older than you. And in my lifetime, I've seen American attitudes toward Native Americans change profoundly. And I'm sure you've seen it too. And obviously for the better. For the better.
Yeah. And again, I wasn't raised in the culture. So, I'm a bit of an outsider perspective, but then now that I come into it, I can say, okay, where 25 years ago or 20 years ago, there was basically Charlie Hill and Larry Omaha were probably the only native comics working in mainstream comedy. Now, there's probably 5 or 10 of us, at least mainstream, and then another, just doing tribal events and wellness is probably 30, 40, 50. And there's the 1491s, amazing sketch group. These are the guys behind Reservation Dogs, Sterling Harjo, Dallas Goldtooth, and some of those guys. And look at them. That Reservation Dogs, I believe it won a couple Emmys. So now then, what was the other one? Peacock, Rutherford Falls. So now you're seeing a little bit more representation of natives in mainstream, not just comedy, but television. Comedy hasn't quite kept up. The TV kind of leapfrogged the comedy. So we're hoping, hey, maybe we'll see more, another one of these Showtime specials that get a little more, or something similar, that get a little more broad appeal, because people are still
Native American comedian.
Yeah.
Now, he's got a great line. I fell off my chair. You know how white people use the expression, we're going to party like it's 1999. What do you say? You're going to party
who's ready to party like it's 1491?
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. I used to bring that. I used to do a merch shirt, party like it's 1491. I might have to bring that back.
Oh, party like it's 1491.
Very sadly hysterical.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a very deep line, but it's funny.
Right.
Now,
So that's what I love about it, because you can. I'm not a real abrasive, Peter. No, that's not my style. I'm not totally in your face, but I like to slide some stuff in. Like, so hey, this immigration, that's been a huge problem since like 1492. I don't think people are expected. You zig, they zag, and I say, okay, well, people can't even. Illegal immigration is so controversial. We can't even decide what to call them, as like undocumented migrants, illegal aliens, unauthorized workers. And what happened to the old school term, pilgrims? Right?
see, have fun with it. It's genuinely funny, and
it really is the same exact situation.
And you're making a point.
And even the people that get offended, I'm like, say, if you get offended by that, you'd love this news story. So today in El Paso, Texas, 47 pilgrims were found in the back of a Mayflower moving van.
That's a great twist.
What a great line.
So it's nice. It brings people back. I like to kind of do, comedy could be a little whiplash. So I like to have fun with that and not be, and I want to become preachy and, look what you've done to people.
You're not preachy at all. You're just funny. And you can say things that a white comedian can't about Native Americans, because it's 2024, and you can talk about your own ethnic group or your own race freely, but not somebody else's. That seems to be where we're at now in 2024.
And plus I'm mixed, so I go have like I tell Jackie, I said I'm Mexican, Irish, Navajo, Mexico, and so I said,
Mexico.
So I'm known in racial surveys other, right? Yeah.
So he's very funny about going to New York, visiting New York, and he found that there are a lot of Indians in New York, but not the same kind of Indians.
I love your lead-in, Peter. So the other
was that subtle?
Buffalo Chip.
That was a blatant lead-in.
Tech support, not child support.
Oh,
code writers, not code talkers.
Did you say that again? Say that.
code writers, not code talkers.
Those are the Indians in New York. That's so great. So funny. Now you tell us, the word Indian, I think, is still a very proud word, but some people prefer Native American.
Right.
What is a Native American?
I prefer original landowner.
Original landowner. Oh,
that's great.
that is now that these lines are so great, and at the
Yeah.
same time, you're making a point, and that when
Right.
you know, you got to get a laugh first, but when there's a point
Yeah.
behind it, that makes comedy so meaningful, more meaningful, I think. That's just terrific.
Wow.
Sometimes I'll do like the punch up, like I'll hit them up front and then I'll soften. I say, well, I'm joking. We don't believe we own the land. We're a timeshare people. So
Jeez.
Now, let me ask you, I remember back in the day, as do you, when Hollywood used to cast white guys in Native American roles
yeah, I
and
remember Burt
played up the
Lancaster,
stereo.
right?
Like
Yeah.
what?
Burt Lancaster was one example. He
Right.
played a
Burt,
yeah.
right. Burt
Crazy.
Lancaster. And that is all different now. I think it changed. Well, Dances with Wolves, I think, was a very impactful movie for changing American attitudes towards Native Americans and realizing,
Yeah, shout out to Kevin Costner. I think it definitely it was definitely groundbreaking for non-native people to, to get a perspective on, oh, this is, is always based on the cowboy's perspective, and the Western and the savage and these bloodthirsty renegades were out to, threaten women and children. And, that's just that old trope was common for what, 50 years of 50 years of movies. So, he did break the mold. And then he turns around, what, 40 years later and lays this turd called Horizon. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Yeah.
right.
I love Kevin Costner, but that was painful to watch. A couple of my friends were in the movie too, playing the native roles, and then speaking. And now that's another thing. You have people, they'll at least take some cultural responsibility and actually have the native speaking that tribal language,
Right.
as opposed to we see white men go that way. That
Me come,
Right.
you go. How?
yeah.
That was I watched. I went to see that. And that bombed so bad. I was at the theater. I was like one of two people in the whole theater, but it really was. It didn't seem like Costner's point of view. You know what I mean?
But I didn't see any point of view. I didn't know it was so going up. Like I said, Kevin Horizon, and I wasted 2 hours of my time watching Horizon. Unfortunately for Kevin Costner, he wasted 38 million of his own money because he self funded it.
And it bombed so bad that the part 2 was already booked at theaters, and they unbooked them. And I've never
Wow.
heard of that before.
Now, when I was growing up in the 60s, one of my favorite shows was F Troop.
I remember that.
And
sure.
it's hard to find F Troop now. I think it is not politically correct to show that kind of treatment of Native Americans, although, of course, it was white guys playing Native Americans. But the Native Americans were the smartest ones on the show.
Right. It was basically the old West version of Hogan's Heroes, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
kind of, yes.
And it was
To me,
so
that's how I broke it
obviously a
down.
goof.
It was so obviously a goof.
Yeah, they were all incompetent knuckleheads. It was like the Apple Dumpling Gang in uniform, and yeah.
And do we know, and the name of the tribe on F Troop was the Hakawi. The name of the tribe was the Hakawi.
Uh-huh.
And that's from where the
now, yeah, now how did
which branch from?
Yes, now there were
Yeah.
in the show, the Hakawi chief explained how they got their name, which was they were wandering and lost. And the chief said, "Where are the Hakawi?"
Right.
And the original joke was, of course, what the original punchline,
Right.
the Hakawi.
Yeah.
But to me, that's just fun. But
Well, then, and not to say, well, yeah, I don't think it was meant to be mean spirit at all, or and now you look back as that's kind of offensive, but back then people I don't want to you almost have to forgive ignorance. They didn't know better. They were just some goofballs in a writing room
Right.
based on what their experience was and what they watched growing up and say, hey, we're
Right.
we're
They
gonna
were
take
just
these
handed a certain amount of premises and then you just write the jokes,
yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was I still think it was harmless fun. But
But it's also easy to say that sitting with,
so you're sitting
Right.
here and not being Native American and clearly using Native American terms as mascots for sports teams, which was harmless, basically, not harm. It was never harmless. But
yeah,
but
my
white
jury
people
is still
didn't-
out on that. Like, is that
Yeah.
like truly offensive to like the
Well,
Reds?
it's like any community. I think there's a little bit of I've heard different perspectives. Most people don't want to be most natives I know don't want to have the mascots. Some like Seminoles and some certain groups, some people are like, hey, we're fine with it,
well,
like the
so the
Redskins.
Seminoles.
I didn't think the Redskins was the most appropriate one because that has a lot of historic negative connotations, and a lot of people are still hurt about that. Like, oh, you changed the name of the Redskin. Well, is it only about you and your jersey? But okay, just think, is it really gonna? It's not that big a loss for you to change a name if it's causing someone else that much discomfort or
Agreed. Agreed. There's a big difference though between the name Chiefs and Redskins. It's
sure.
Chiefs is
I
an
agree. I think
honorable
there's
term. A
yeah,
lot of
but then
people
of course there's the tomahawk chop. People
agreed.
ask Mark. They asked me if I'm offended by that tomahawk chop. I said I don't mind as long as you don't mind me doing the wave when you lose in an Indian casino.
I didn't even set you up for that one.
Thank you.
Uh,
I figured I better jump in while I had it there.
you had it. Now,
It's a tomahawk chop. But think about it. Tomahawk chop. There's no circumcision chop. There's no chopstick chop.
Right.
It always seems to fall on natives. They honor natives. They don't honor any other losing teams. Right? I've never seen. There's no Carolina Confederates against the Boston Blitzkrieg. Right.
Right.
see,
So that brings me a little frustration. Oh, we're honoring you. Oh yeah.
well, they're honoring you if you feel honored. If you feel offended, you're not being honored.
No. I'm like, no one asked to be honored, right? when
Yeah.
the great
It's so
warrior chief
funny
signed
how
the treaties, they didn't ask for that honor. Yeah.
these things hit people at, there's a whole spectrum of how it hits. It's totally offensive to one person and not offensive at all to somebody else. And,
Right.
so, and people just, some people choose to do battle over it and some people don't. And,
Right. Yeah, I think there's, and you do have to choose your battles, and we know in this media day and age, there's only so much bandwidth, and people don't have a historical perspective. It's 3 days, 3 weeks, so much less you're going to go back and revisit history, and we know how our society feels about that. No one really wants to, look at the hard truths. So we want to just kind of gloss over, move on to the next meme or TikTok video. So. You can't, I can't. I try not to get too worked up about it. I figure I'd just write more jokes and try to make people think with their funny bone, not just with their limited perspective.
All right. Wise words on our podcast. Not that common, but those are wise words.
Not that common coming out of my mouth either. Trust me.
but Mark Gaffey, you talk about, as I said before, everything under the sun. Now check this out. This man is alive and kicking, and in his comedy, it's so funny. He is a former not driving instructor. You used to do the
I did
test.
both. I was a driving examiner. I was the guy in the car with the clipboard giving the test. Right. And then I left the DMV, probably the farthest job from comedy, and became an instructor. And when I became a driving instructor, I got so many hours, I was able to open my own school and then parallel with driver training. California, I don't know if you had it in New York at the time, you take a traffic violator school if you got a ticket to keep it off your record. So that's what I did. I had hostages to torture with my jokes, and that's how I trained on comedy. These people couldn't go anywhere, so I I wrote a lesson plan. It was halfway decent, and I'd been dabbling in the idea of doing comedy, but I was already in my 30s, and I said, well, I'm having fun doing this. I'll try to find some comedians because comedy traffic school was big, like down in LA and the Bay Area. So I tried to recruit some comedians to teach for me, right? Side job, why not? Pay them a couple $100 a day
Yeah.
or something.
Now there's
So I
some
went
kind
to
of crazy irony that you got your comedy start with a captive audience.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah, I had the room full of white people, not able to leave they were restricted to that room. See, Jackie, you give me premise here. I'm gonna have to work on that one now. Yeah.
But you did, as an examiner, they're trying to pass their road test. How many
Oh.
times can somebody fail those things?
I think I failed. It was one gentleman in Santa Barbara. I think he failed about 7 times. You just pay it
7
and start
times.
over.
No, I had
He
an
was
aunt that
he was
failed 7
using the
times.
driving test as his driving lessons. He'd find I would just keep correct. This is what you did wrong. He was trying to get almost free intel out of me. Well, I did. You didn't turn your head before you changed lanes. You forgot to merge in the bike. Oh, merge in the bike lane. Oh, it is. It's like, yeah. So
See, what a great comedians have a lot of stories about their first jobs and what they do when they're starting out to make ends meet. You risked your life.
yeah, but I don't talk about it. I blocked it out. I got PTSD of it.
I mean, you must have been in accidents and had to.
That would be so great if you made the guy that is taking a driving lesson laugh and he hits somebody.
Wait, the only accident I ever had, it was a rural town in Northern California, like 3,000 people. And the DMV was at no stoplight. It'd be like if you were in upstate New York or something. No stoplight. So you try to make it hard, but and actually that could be worse because there was never anything to break the flow of traffic. So then they'd panic and pull out in front of cars.
Yeah.
The only accident we had is we rear-ended this old Dodge Duster. I don't even remember those from like the 70s. And we rear-ended that car. He took off. So he probably had no license and insurance. Yeah. We hit, he ran.
Let's
Hey, Mark, bear with us here. This is fun. We have a sponsor. That's how big we are in
Wow.
this business.
it only took 5 years.
It only took,
Congratulations.
and it's Jackie's expertise, I think, that got us this sponsor. Listen to this. We'll talk to you. We'll explain it to you and our audience at the same time. Cycling Frog is a cannabis company that makes flavored seltzer that contains CBD and THC.
THC infused salsa, and I'm not. This is a commercial, but it really tastes great. It doesn't taste like hash or pot and that aftertaste. It tastes like like great seltzer, and you get stoned, and it's very gentle. I just discovered this like a year or two ago, and I couldn't believe
Man,
it.
talk about the ultimate cure for cottonmouth. Right there.
A cure for cottonmouth. Why didn't we think of that? That's a great slogan. Now listen, I got to tell you, black currant, all different flavors. What do you have?
Wild cherry. Now
Wild
they
cherry.
have cran raspberry, which is 10 milligrams, which is excellent.
And they got even stronger than that. They call it the Jackie Martling level of the.
I was drinking a little bit of the 10 milligram, and like always, going around the channels, and all of a sudden, there was Godfather 2. And 2 hours later, I'm sitting there stoned out of my head, and Godfather's done, and I'm like, I forgot what I was supposed to be doing. It puts you in a nice place, though.
All the buzz, none of the hangover. I'm a professor who hangs out in the nonfiction section of the library. I tried it. I loved it. So,
And we have a discount
yeah,
code.
this is the coolest part. If you go online to cyclingfrog.com and you type in capital S, capital U, capital M, 20.
Stand Up Memories 20.
Yep. You 20% discount. How cool is that, baby? Cycling Frog. All right. THC.
It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun. And you are really, really fun and such a nice guy.
It's nice to meet you, of course.
And I hope I get
Nice to meet you
in person and just hang out and talk.
Yeah.
And maybe work together sometime.
I'm coming to New York in February. We're doing I don't know if it's NYU or something. I'm doing this native tour of some Virginia Tech, Dartmouth, and then something in New York. I don't know the whole schedule yet. I got to look that
You know
up.
what? But when I hear that, you know what gets me upset? There's no such thing as a tour for that they call the white Anglo-Saxon land grabbing tour that I could be on.
Land grabber.
Well, you could do the college professors tour, but I'm sure
Yeah.
people aren't going to break down the doors to get to that, you know.
You know, that's just mean.
I-
Okay, so
Thank you.
let's get together. Let's get Peach and get together and
Okay.
just that's nice. That's nice that you're coming to New York. Now let's tell our audience, which is growing, and we're talking thousands and thousands now, honestly. And you are Mark Jaffe, M-A-R-C, and
Parents
capital
couldn't
J,
spell.
huh?
Parents couldn't spell. Mark, yeah. Mark
Okay,
with a C.
no, actually, I like that spelling, M-A-R-C, and capital J-A-F-F-E-E,
YAFFEE.
one A.
One Y, not J.
Oh, wait.
Yaffee.
Oh, wait, did I say J?
You're thinking of Al Jaffe from Mad Magazine.
I might
Mark
be
Jaffe,
thinking
Alger. Well, the
Mark
Jaffe's the more
Yaffee.
common.
Did I
That's
say
the more
Jaffe?
common spelling, to be honest. Yeah. So no worries. Yeah.
No, but no. Y-A-F-F-E-E. And you are
Yep.
findable online. And these dry bar specials are so funny and wide ranging because he talks about everything. He talks about being Native American, but he talks about what happens to everybody. And it's just, you're just so funny. And you know, thank you for coming on. I mean, you
Well,
are.
thanks. Yeah, and if people forget how to spell my full name, they can go to it's Laugh with Mark, LAUGHWITHMARC.com. And they
All
can watch
right. I love it.
free. Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you. We'll have you back
Oh,
on.
Definitely
it's a
want.
lot of fun. Look forward to it.
Mark Yaffee, thank you so much on behalf
Thank
of
you.
me, Peter Bales, and this is.
Jackie Martling.
All right. Thank you, man. You're terrific. And we'll
right.
see you again.
Thank you. See you soon.
All
Thank you.
right.